Have you ever noticed that you find it easier to sympathize with others than with yourself? That when you make a mistake, instead of embracing yourself, you become your own harshest critic. We might forgive others hundreds of times, yet for our own single slip-up, we bind ourselves with cords of guilt that have no day of release. And then, in the quiet nights, when there is no one left to talk to, we hear the whisper within, "Why am I not good enough?" The truth is, we were not born to hate ourselves. We simply forgot how to look at ourselves with gentle eyes. Society teaches us to be strong, to be successful, to be loved, but it does not teach us how to love ourselves when we are weak, defeated, or lost. So we grow up with a space wide open, a space that should have held our own kindness toward ourselves. Buddhism does not teach perfection. The Buddha teaches us to look deeply and to see that even in our suffering, a part within us yearns to be understood, accepted, and loved. When we pause and truly listen to ourselves, we take the first step on the path of awakening, the path of compassion that begins within. In the next 3 hours, you will not receive a lecture, not hollow advice. This will be a journey. You walk with your own breath through stories of meditation, moments of stillness, and gentle reminders, like a temple bell carried on the wind. As minutes pass, you will discover that love does not need to be found. It is already inside you, simply waiting for you to return. So before we begin, slow your breathing for a moment. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your heartbeat. That is the companion that has been with you every moment of your life. And today, we will relearn how to love that companion with the wisdom of the Buddha, with the compassion of your own heart. Thus, before we step into the journey ahead, I invite you to pause for a few seconds and listen carefully. If these opening words cause a gentle stir in your heart, if you feel somewhere inside you that needs healing, then stay. Let this video become a silent space just for you, where you can breathe, feel, and begin again with yourself. And if you would like a space like this each week, a space of peace, compassion, and Buddhist tales as gentle as a breath, please click subscribe now. Just one small touch, but it means you will not miss the meditation journeys ahead, where together we will learn to love ourselves more deeply each day. Now, when your heart has softened, let us enter Chapter 1, Seeing Yourself Clearly, the mirror of awareness, in which you will begin to see yourself with the light of understanding and compassion. When the little door of attention has just opened, I invite you to walk slowly, as though your feet are stepping on water, each step carrying the whisper of your breath. Sit upright enough so your lungs have space to expand. Relax your shoulders, as though placing 2 leaves gently on a pond's surface. Rest your hands on your thighs or over your heart. If you wish to feel your heartbeat, then close your eyes. In that darkness, you are not disappearing. You are merely giving your senses a place to rest, to cease clinging to the day's passing noise. Notice the in and out rhythm of your breathing, like an old friend dropping by. No invitation needed, no pleading required. With each inhale, silently say to yourself, I know I breathe in. With each exhale, silently say, I know I breathe out. That's it. No additions, no dramatizing. Just knowing, and staying with that knowing. After a few breaths, when the breath becomes softer and more even, imagine there is a wide mirror in front of you. Not the bathroom mirror that reflects every small detail of your face in a hurried morning, but a gentle, still mirror, like deep water without ripples. In that mirror, your image appears not to be judged, but simply to be seen. You might see your hair, your eyes, the tired traces left after a long day. You may even see the thoughts drifting like slow clouds. They appear and then pass. Your job is only to watch. They are not you, nor are they villains that must be chased away. They are merely clouds passing through the sky of the mind. You might remember a day in the past when you blamed yourself for something very small. Perhaps a careless word that stalled a relationship. Perhaps a wrong decision that caused you to take a longer route, cost more time and effort. Maybe a moment of weakness before a desire that left you feeling inadequate. Such moments are like ink spills on a white shirt. The more you scrub, the more they spread. In the mirror of mindfulness, we do not scrub. We look and we name. Naming the truth is a way of placing your hand on your shoulder without pressure. When you name it correctly, you restore the event to its rightful place in life's order. You are no longer that mistake. You are simply the one learning the lesson from it. There was a potter in a mist-shrouded town. Each morning, he stoked his kiln earlier than anyone else because he believed a hot fire would make the clay shrink less when exposed to cold winds. One day, in haste, he forgot to wipe a patch of ash from the rim of a pot. When it came out of the kiln, a dark streak appeared on the glaze, like a finger's drag. Embarrassed, he brought the pot to his master. The master held the pot up, turned it in dim light, smiled, and said that the streak was not a defect, but a cloud. The master told him to place the pot where the light slanted and set a white flower beside it, then observe. When he did, he saw that the dark streak truly resembled a stationary cloud, making the white flower shine brighter because it had a dark background to rest against. From that day on, each time he pulled work from the kiln, he no longer panicked at odd streaks. He learned to place them in the light and ask what story they told. We are the same. We have dark streaks in life, but if we bring them into proper light, we will see they reveal a different kind of beauty we never noticed before. Continue to sit quietly with your breath and turn your inner gaze toward a place you normally avoid touching. Maybe it is a memory of an argument, an examination result, not as expected, a failed project, a broken relationship, a time you broke a promise to yourself. You do not need to hurry to fix anything here. You just need to open the window so the light may enter. The light here is gentle attention, not judgment, not raising the banner of right and wrong. When the light flows in, the dust will settle by itself. You may notice your heart beating slower, the air entering the lungs more deeply, the tension in the neck or shoulders giving way to a small warmth. That is the sign you are beginning to see yourself with gentle eyes. In the teachings, non-self does not mean you vanish from your own story. Non-self is the ability to see that what you call is merely a collection of countless conditions coming together. This body is the result of food, water, air, sunlight, sleep. This mind is the result of family, school, the friends you met, the books you read, the sorrows that passed, the joys not yet named. When we see that everything is shaping us, self-judgment softens like wax near a flame. Because if everything together is making me, then I am not standing alone in fault or glory. I am the flow. The flow cannot be a mistake. It can only veer off track and then realign. There once was a young woman who repaired old photographs. Every day, she sat at her lacquer-worn wooden table by a slanted window where light streamed in and replaced torn paper, removed yellow stains, restored faces to those who had traveled through time. One day, she took on a family photo, torn at the edge, with a flash of light of damage in one corner. The owner asked her to remove the flash because they believed it made the photo less beautiful. She studied the picture for a long time and said that we could keep the flash because it looked like a stray beam of sunlight, making the grandmother's face a little brighter, as though the photo were still alive and breathing. The owner was surprised and agreed. When the photo was restored, everyone saw a warm feeling they could not quite name. That flash was no longer a flaw. It became the heartbeat of memory. When you look at yourself in the mirror of mindfulness, you may also spot similar flashes in your life. Do not rush to erase them. Try keeping them and calling them by gratitude, because they are what give your story its heartbeat. Now bring your attention to your body. Imagine a gentle breeze flowing from the top of your head downward. Notice your forehead, your eyelids, your cheekbones, your bridge of the nose, the sides of your nostrils, your lips, your teeth, your tongue, and the roof of your mouth. If you sense any tension anywhere, breathe in a little more slowly and breathe out a little longer, as though you are opening a small door for that place to step outside into fresh air. Continue down to your neck and shoulders, where you may have carried nameless burdens all day. Perhaps you are still wearing an invisible backpack containing unfinished tasks, unsaid words, things unclear. You do not need to put down that backpack right away. You only need to set it on the floor for a moment so your shoulders can remember their natural position. Move on down to your arms, elbows, wrists, hands, fingers. Feel the warmth, the lightness or heaviness, the subtle pulse. Return to your chest, where your heartbeat works without pause, where each day you seldom listen. Place your hand there and silently say thank you. Then go down to your belly, where you store emotions you often hide. With each exhale, soften that area a bit more. Move down to your hips, thighs, knees, calves, ankles, feet, toes, and even the ground beneath you that silently supports you. At this moment, your entire body becomes a house whose windows have just been opened to let sunlight and wind in. The space inside becomes wider. The inner noise becomes quieter. In that house, you begin to hear your own voice more clearly. Not the voice you use to argue with life, but the voice of a close friend who has been beside you since you were small. You may realize you have been speaking to yourself too sternly all this time. You demanded yourself to be faster, better, neater, less flawed. Those demands once helped you climb many stairs, but they also made you lose the simple joy of being here, breathing. Try changing your tone. Call your own name softly, as if calling a friend who has just woken from a long dream. Tell them, "Today I tried. I made it here. I did not give up. I paused to breathe." Kindness toward yourself does not make you weak. It is the fertile soil in which seeds of courage grow. There was a young man working at a port, returning each night to a small room on the third floor, overlooking the ink-black water. He used to turn on the light so quickly, as if afraid the darkness would get in first. One day, he met an elderly owner of a second-hand bottle shop along the shore. The old man taught him a simple ritual. Before switching on the light, place your hand on the doorknob and wait for one breath of wind. When the wind touches your hand, bow your head. That is a reminder that darkness is also a guest with manners. From that day on, every evening when he reached home, he greeted a breath of wind and then entered. He found himself less hurried, less lost. The gentle sound of water lapping the shore sounded like a lullaby. When we greet the darkness within ourselves, it means we begin to see it as part of our house, not as an intruder. We fear ourselves less, and therefore we fear life less. Return now to the mirror before you. This time, instead of simply looking at your face, look deeper into your eyes. In those eyes lie all the roads you have walked, all the people you have met, all the seasons that have passed. Imagine you are meeting yourself at a small station of the past. Perhaps the 10-year-old version of you sitting by a window, counting raindrops. Perhaps the version of yourself who failed an exam, sitting on an old step and hiding your face in your hands. Perhaps the version of yourself on a morning you signed a resignation, feeling both relieved and anxious. Step closer and sit beside that version. No need to counsel them. No need to get them to stand up. Just sit beside them and place your hand on their back as one might on an old drum skin. Just sit quietly like that for a while. When they look up, smile. That smile is a signal sent to all your other versions that your inner home has someone living in it. In the moment of stillness, you might notice a question arise. Who am I when I am no longer clinging to labels of success or failure? When I am no longer carried away by praise or blame? When I am no longer trying to please anyone? The answer does not come as a definition. It comes as a feeling of presence. I am here and breathing. I know I am present. Just by this, you have stepped over the threshold into true self-seeing. Because the one who can look at themselves without rushing to categorize is the one who has begun to love themselves. Continue practicing with a small exercise. As you breathe in silently, say, I am here. As you breathe out silently, say, I am safe. Repeat a few times, as if tossing small pebbles into the bottom of the mind's pond. If thoughts interrupt, smile and make room for them to pass by. Do not chase them. Do not hold them back. Each pebble you drop is a reminder that the surface may still ripple. but the bottom has begun to settle. When the bottom settles, the reflection of the sky becomes clearer on the water's surface. Many people fear looking at themselves because they think inside is only tangled messes that cannot be named. In fact, those tangles are not as scary as you imagine. They are like a storage room that has not been opened for a long time. The hardest part is turning the knob and pushing the rusty door. But once the door opens, the light will do its job. You only need to stand at the threshold and breathe. After a while, you will see the room is not entirely rubbish. There are some precious objects that need dusting. There are some keepsakes from days that made you smile. There are some letters faded, but still with the warm scent of paper. And there are things truly meant to be discarded. Trust that you have enough gentleness to tidy that room. Gentleness is not slowness, lacking decision. Gentleness is a kind of strength that can lift without breaking, can touch without hurting. One day, when you walk down the street, you might find yourself looking at your reflection in a shop window glass. In that moment, you may see both a familiar person and a stranger at the same time. The familiar person is the face that has passed through many bends. The stranger is the gaze that just learned to smile at itself. That moment is a milestone. It says that the mirror inside you is clearer and you are brave enough to look straight without bowing your head in shame. From here on, each difficulty will become less of a battle and more of a conversation. You will no longer fight with fear. You will invite fear to sit down for a cup of tea. You will ask it where it came from, what it needs, and it will shrink like a child who has been heard. If right now a tear falls somewhere in your heart, let it fall. Tears are not a sign of weakness. They are a sign the earth is being watered. Trees need rain to grow. The heart needs to be wet to become wise. In the tradition, there are times when people just sit together and breathe, saying nothing. Yet each one feels a little lighter. That is because each person allowed their heart to open a little crack so light could seep in. When light is enough, darkness is not defeated. It is embraced. Now please slowly open your eyes as though you are lifting a thin curtain. Look around your room, no matter whether it is tidy or messy. Choose a small object nearby, perhaps a cup, a pen, a notebook, a branch. Place it in your palm and look as if it is for the first time. Observe its color, its outline, the scratches, the weight. Let the object become a mirror, reflecting the energy of presence. you will see that when you are fully present, everything around becomes gentle and bright. That gentleness and brightness does not come from the object. It comes from your eyes when you stop demanding and begin appreciating. From here, you may make a small agreement with yourself. Each morning, before stepping into the rhythm of the day, give 3 minutes to your gentle mirror. No need for elaborate ritual. Just sit upright. Place your hand on your chest. Follow 3 breaths in and 3 breaths out. And ask one simple question. What does my heart want to say today? No need to answer right away. Let the question hang like a wind chime. During the day, each time a breeze passes, the chime will ring. You will receive an answer in some unexpected sign, a ray of sunshine on your desk, a warm message, a task gone not as planned, but causing you to pause and not make a bigger mistake. And if there are times when you forget to practice, do not make that forgetting a whip. Simply return next time. The path home has no checkpoint, no one scolding you for being late. Each return is each proof that the inner home is real. When that home is real, you will rely less on outside approval or reproach. You will fear life's storms less. You will feel less lonely, even when you are alone, because you know there is someone always ready to sit beside you without judgment. That someone is you when you learn to look at yourself with the light of understanding and kindness. I promise to speak to myself in a gentle voice. I promise to place my hand over my chest whenever I feel startled, and I promise to breathe until my heartbeat softens. I promise to reserve a blank space in my day so it will not be overwhelmed by things I must do. I promise to honor the limits of my body, to say no when I need to rest when I am tired, to eat when I am hungry, to sleep when I am sleepy. These promises are ordinary enough that anyone could make them. Yet when they are kept consistently, they become the electric strand that lights up the darkest room within the mind. You have walked a significant segment from once only seeing dark stains. You now know how to bring them into light. From once hurriedly turning on the lamp to chase away darkness, you now know to greet a single breath of wind before entering. From once binding yourself with harsh words, you now know to call yourself by a gentle name. That is the sign that love has begun to open its eyes. When love opens its eyes, you no longer need to become someone else to be worthy. You only need to continue showing up, continue breathing, continue looking into the mirror of kindness you have just awakened. We now leave the mirror here and step into another room of the journey. In that room, you will learn how to send a stream of warmth to yourself, and then let that stream flow outward, touching another person, touching the world, then returning like a boundless embrace. Before we go forward, place your hand on your chest. Once more, breathe in, knowing you are here. Breathe out, knowing you are safe. A new door is opening right before you, where compassion will become the path you walk and the home you live under. When this door just opens before you, you will see a path paved with gentle light, not blinding, not pressing, just soft, like morning mist lying on the grass. That path is called compassion. I invite you to step very slowly, each step aligned with your breath, so that the stream of warmth begins from your sternum, then spreads through your chest, down your belly, along both arms, to the fingertips that lightly touch each other. You do not have to force a brilliant emotion, and you do not need to force a smile. Compassion is like glowing embers under a thin layer of ash. You only need to stay with your breath there. You will feel the warmth, and when it warms a little, you will want to stay longer. Once upon a time, in a small village by a mountain, there lived a monk near a water pier, where villagers still fetched buckets of water for the evening meal. Each early morning, the monk sat on a low bamboo stool behind him, the banana grove rustling in front the dirt road. One day, he met a blind beggar, his clothes torn, his flip-flops mismatched, but his smile was very bright. The monk asked why he smiled each morning, though he did not know what his dinner would be. The blind man said that he could hear the birds waking the sun, hear children pulling each other toward school, hear mothers calling their children home to eat, hear the breeze touch the hem of a passerby's robe. And when he heard all that, he knew the world was still going about its work like a rich machine, and he was a small part of it. The monk smiled. He said, "Compassion is not pity, but seeing clearly life in motion and choosing to join that motion with warmth." The next day, the villagers saw the monk place a clean bowl at the doorstep. Inside, he laid a neatly folded cloth. Anyone who passed and carried a piece of bread, a banana, a bowl of rice could put it in. The blind man sat by the wall, his hand on the bowl, as though on a small drum. He did not demand. He listened. By evening, the bowl was full, not because people were rich, but because they had heard the voice of compassion pass through the village like a faint bell. When you sit here, you too may hear that bell within. Breath is the cord that rings the bell, and the heart is the hand that gently pulls the rope. You may begin with a very short, silent phrase. May I be safe. May I be peaceful in body and in mind. May I know how to let go of heavy things. May I welcome the gentle ones. Do not force yourself to feel something grand. Compassion does not demand a large effect. It likes small movements, like when you place a fingertip on still water and the ripples roll outward. They find their shore by themselves. Speaking to yourself first is not selfish. It is how you light the kitchen so you can later cook a warm pot of water for visiting guests. You may remember the days when you spoke to yourself too strictly. You often worked faster then, but you wore out the strings inside the mind. At some point, the sound inside became harsh and cold. Just a mild criticism from someone else could snap a string. Compassion is the patient hand that tightens each string again. Not hurried, not comparing with someone else's tune, not looking for a perfect song, just listening until each string produces its right note. When each string returns to its frequency, you will hear an old chord, the sound of home. That warmth returns stays, does not leave you anymore. There was a woman selling flowers at the riverside market. Each morning, she carried 2 baskets full of chrysanthemum and pomelo blossoms. On the way to market, she often paused at the small bridge to dip her hand in the water, cleansing the mud off her fingernails. Once, she met a badly dressed child sitting crying because he had lost his mother. She put down her baskets, sat low to meet his eye, level, handed him a dewy chrysanthemum. The child stopped crying, held the flower, as though it were a small son, looked up, and pressed his lips to keep from sniffling. She told him the flower would not fill his stomach, but it would help him not to fear, so that she could lead him to find his mother. When his mother arrived and wept while holding her child, the flower seller simply smiled, then hoisted her baskets and continued to market. Though she lost a few customers by stopping, she believed the load of flowers would be lighter when the heart was not burdened. Compassion works that way. It does not cause you loss. It drains the water from the heavy stones in the heart and turns it into thin clouds. And one day, the clouds will rain, watering your own little garden. Now, as you sit quietly, you may begin to expand the circle. After the phrases you send yourself, you may silently speak to a friend appearing in your mind. May you be safe. May you overcome what steals your sleep. May your body be well, your mind light your life, less steep. Remember, You do not have to imagine something dramatic. Just imagine placing a warm cloth on their shoulders. The cloth does not solve all problems, but it lets muscles unclench, and then they have enough calm to open their door on their own. After that, friend, let the circle touch someone you dislike, perhaps a coworker or someone who has hurt you. Do not force your heart to love them yet. Just speak one short, honest phrase. May you not suffer. May you find a way to live without making myself or others hurt. Such little prayers are like launching a small raft onto a rushing river. The raft goes its own way. It is not yours, but your handprint remains like a blessing sent out into the universe. In a certain village, there was a map mender. He did not draw new routes. He only fixed forgotten blank spaces. People brought him maps, stained rivers missing, bends, roads, broken forests, only unnamed dark patches. His job was to sit for a long time, gaze deeply to see which error was human-made, which change was nature's. Sometimes he just added a thin line. Sometimes he erased a dark stain. Sometimes he renamed a stream because the old name no longer fit. Compassion is like the art of map mending. It does not rewrite everything. It simply helps you recognize blank zones that need naming parts overmarked, that need softening borders, that need easing, so travelers can pass. Every time you speak to someone in a gentle voice, you have drawn a thin line on their map. Every time you speak to yourself in a gentle voice, you have repaired a blank corner on your own map. Over time, those thin lines build into a network of safe pathways. Try another practice now. As you inhale, silently hear 2 syllables in, out like gentle waves, lapping the shore. As you exhale, silently send 2 syllables, peace, deep through the body. Then imagine a small circle of light in front of your chest, no larger than a coin. Each inhalation makes the circle expand a little. Each exhalation sends it a little farther out. When the circle touches your shoulders, elbows, wrists, hands, pause a breath to thank the hands that have supported you today. When it touches your belly, hips, thighs, knees, calves, feet, pause to thank the legs that have carried you home many times. When it touches your neck, chin, mouth, nose, eyes, forehead, crown, pause to thank the face that has smiled, even when there were tears. After a few minutes, let the circle go outside your body, expanding to the objects near you, to the room, to the house, to the path, to the trees, to people you don't know, but still share this atmosphere with you. If the mind wanders, that is okay. Just smile and guide the circle back, like calling a playful puppy home onto its mat. Someone might ask, how is compassion different from meekness? The difference lies in the fact that compassion has a backbone. It is not an attitude of easygoing acceptance of what is wrong. It knows how to say no when needed, but it says so in a voice that does not crush the heart. A mother who teaches her child to walk in the rain cannot simply placate. She must set rules, show the puddles worth avoiding, pause when the child is stubborn. But each pause is intended to protect, not shame. Compassion always aims to preserve kindness, even when it appears as a fence. A compassion fence does not have sharp spines. It stands at a height just enough so that both sides can see each other's hands. In busy cities, people easily turn rough. They bump into each other in elevators, jostle on sidewalks, stand shoulder to shoulder in train cars, yet each stares at a screen. If you keep a small flame of compassion in your jacket pocket, you'll see moments to spark warmth appear constantly. A door held in the elevator for one more second. An elderly figure given space. A clear thank you instead of a nod. A timely silence instead of a comparison comment. These things do not slow you down. They create space, so your rhythm is less machine-like, so you are not swept away like a dry leaf. People often think being compassionate is a disadvantage. In reality, you're the first to benefit. Every kind gesture reminds your nervous system of safety. Your body releases less stress hormones. Your breathing deepens. Your thinking sharpens. From there, you decide better, and you waste less on futile cycles. You can bring compassion into your work through simple ways. Before a difficult call, take 3 breaths and ask, what does the other person fear the most? Before sending feedback, read it again and remove the jabbing words. Before a meeting, ask that each person be allowed a full turn without interruption. After the meeting, thank someone for a small detail done well. Compassion does not polish your title. It reprograms the culture in which you live. You might only be a small link, but a soft link will make the whole chain less likely to break. On a rainy afternoon, a young man walked into the tea shop of an old guard by the sea. The shop was small wooden shelves, a few jars of sugar, a handful of ceramic cups. The young man carried so much disappointment, a career path broken. His lover said goodbye, friends drifting away. The old guard brewed the tea unhurriedly, letting the kettle come just to right, giving the tea leaves time to breathe. He asked the young man if he wanted to hear a story. The young man nodded. The old man told of a pine tree on a hill, which every storm lost a few branches. The tree did not blame the wind or the rocks. It used resin to heal itself, and the gaps let more light in. After a few years, the tree stood tall, with a shape not perfectly straight, but sturdy and beautiful. He said, "Compassion cannot keep you from storms. It only helps you learn to arm your cuts with warm resin, so that one day you look back and see the scars for what they are." The young man finished his tea, felt his belly grow warm, his throat less constricted. The rain outside did not stop, but inside there was now a dry place to sit. Notice when you say your compassion prayers, a small resistance may arise. The mind asks, "Why am I worthy of safety? Why do those who hurt me deserve safety?" You do not need to argue with that voice. Acknowledge its presence like you acknowledge a cloud. Say to it, "The heart learns to love not by formula, but by staying long enough with what's alive." Then return to your breath. Continue. Each time you return, you lay another thin layer for the path of compassion. After 100 thin layers, the path becomes thick enough to walk even when the rain falls. When practiced regularly, you'll notice something interesting. Difficult relationships begin to find a new place. Not that they become how you hoped, but that you learn to set them in healthier distances. Compassion does not force you to become close with everyone. It allows you to keep distance while not closing your heart. You may not meet for coffee every week, yet still wish them fewer sorrows. You may say no to a request unsuited to you, yet speak it in a voice that does not snap the other person. This is an art to practice a lifetime. Each day, you only need one correct small movement, not many. The right small thing summons the next right small thing. Now you may close your eyes once more and run a full circle practice. First, send the prayer to yourself. May I be safe. May I have enough gentleness to forgive what I have not done well. May I have enough wisdom to do what is right without harm. Next, send to your nearest person, your parent, your child, your partner, a teacher, someone who held your hand through a dark path. May you be safe. May the worries on your brow lighten. May your home have light each morning. Then send to a neutral person, the janitor. You pass in the elevator, the guard at the lobby, the delivery person who just brought your package. May you be safe. May your journey today avoid the hard edges. Finally, send to the person you find difficult. May you be free of suffering. May you not harm others, and may others not harm you. Pause a few seconds between each circle. Listen to the movement like an underground stream. When you open your eyes, look around as though you are viewing a just-washed painting. The outlines soften, the colors seem layered and no longer murky. That is the effect of a heart letting down its tension. Compassion does not change the world in one afternoon. It changes how you show up. And that presence, if sustained, will reshape the connections between you and life. Connections lined with gentle padding, spark less, burn less, break less. So your energy is not leaked. You preserve what you need for the important work. From that, your self-respect returns, but now it stands on the foundation of kindness, not on winning. I invite you to write down 3 short sentences for your daily use. The first one for when you wake up. Today, I ask that I speak in a gentle voice. The second one for when you face a hard situation. I choose to keep safety for both me and the person opposite me. The third for before sleep. Thank you, body, for traveling with me. May the cells rest. These 3 sentences are like stakes along the path, helping you not get lost. No need for perfect handwriting. Just write them with warm flesh and blood hands. If one day you feel empty, remember to return to the small rituals. Drink a cup of warm water and place the cup down gently. Wash your face with cool water and pat dry with a soft towel like you would for a child. Open a window, even if the sun isn't out, so the wind can replace the air. Clear a small section of your desk. Just one small section, so the eyes have a place to rest. Listen to an instrumental piece for 5 minutes. Look at a leaf for as long as it takes to see the veins as a map. These rituals may appear simple, but they are anchors holding you when the underground wave tries to pull you away. Compassion does not require fireworks. It prefers the glowing embers. And if you meet someone crying, do not be quick to give advice. Hand them a tissue. Sit beside them. Breathe together. You may think you are doing nothing. Actually, you are doing the most necessary thing. You place your heart next to theirs so the beating harmonizes. After the rhythm stabilizes, the rest can find its way. Tomorrow, when they remember, it will not be your clever words, but your quiet presence they recall. Quiet presence is the ripe fruit of compassion awakened. By now, you hold in your hand a different kind of map. This map does not just chart routes. It also shows how to pause. It does not only draw streets, it also marks parks to sit in. It does not only record industrial zones, it also draws rivers where you can reflect. With this map long enough in use, you will see a miracle. You will no longer ask why you must love yourself. You will begin to ask how you will love today. And that question always has countless answers waiting in each breath, in each step, in each glance. Let us close this part with one long breath. Inhale to fill your lungs slow enough to hear the little beats of your heart. Exhale even more slowly, as though opening a door to a line of guests waiting at the threshold. If there is still a bit of warmth freshly born in your chest, place your hand over it to keep it a little longer. No need to hold too tight. Just hold it, like holding a bird that knows its way home. Then, lower your hand. Sit still for a moment. Look around at yourself. Look inside and smile. You have walked the path of compassion, from hesitant to brave enough to speak blessings for someone you dislike. That path was not easy, but it opened a different sky for your heart. In that sky, the clouds no longer threaten. They only signal that rain will come, and the rain will nourish the garden you are tending. In the next part of the journey, you will learn how to untie the knots of the past with forgiveness, so the way ahead becomes wider. And when you know how to forgive, you will see the warm fire of compassion gather fuel to burn longer and brighter in the days you need it most. When you have learned how to see yourself in the light of understanding and discovered how to send love from the center of your heart, the next door in the journey opens the path of forgiveness. Forgiveness is not an abstract moral concept, but a real healing act where you unravel each knot in the mind with your breath and gentleness. Many believe forgiveness is a gift for others. But actually, the first person to be freed is you. When you hold on to resentment, you are holding a hot coal. And while you wait for the chance to throw it, your palm itself gets burned. Forgiveness begins when you dare look straight at the pain, not avoiding it, not hiding it. Imagine in front of you a great river, muddy and fast-flowing. Each painful memory is a stone in the riverbed. We have stood there for so long, refusing to cross, because afraid the current will drag us. But if you simply sit on the bank, listen to the water, you will realize the river never wanted to swallow you. It was just doing what it does, carrying away what had grown too heavy to keep. Forgiveness is when you agree to let the river do that job. There was a young monk who carried deep resentment toward a fellow disciple who betrayed him on a meditation retreat. The disciple, aiming for praise, pinned the group's fault on the monk. For months, the monk stayed silent, avoided his friend's gaze, and when he sat to meditate, his breath was always ragged, as if something pressed on his chest. One day, the abbot asked the monk to carry water from the stream back to the temple. The path was long. The bucket's heavy sweat soaked his robe. Nearing the temple, the abbot asked, "Do you feel your shoulders ache?" The monk said, "Yes." The abbot asked, "Are you hauling water for the temple or for your anger?" That question felt like a small needle puncturing a full balloon. That evening, the monk sat by the veranda, looked at the 2 wooden pails by the cistern. He realized that even after he set down the yoke, the mark on his shoulders remained. Much like after you release resentment, your mind may still throb. But if each day you keep placing the yoke down, one day, the mark will fade. From then on, he began to practice forgiveness, not with reason, but with action. Every morning, he made tea and placed an extra cup beside the one he drank, though nobody came to drink it. After time, he realized he smiled without effort. Forgiveness didn't happen overnight. It was the result of the mornings he persisted in brewing tea for the one who did not come. You, too, can begin like that. Choose a person whose thought still stirs a small thorn in your heart. You needn't force yourself to love them. Just invite them through your mind with a neutral gaze. Look like you would at a fallen leaf, a droplet breaking a streak of rain on the window. You don't need to prolong the moment. Let it come and go. Forgiveness is the permission for things to flow without being held. The more you do that, the more the flow within will return to its natural state. In the teaching, people speak of karma. Every act, word, thought is a seed sown into consciousness. Some seeds sprout quickly. Some take years. Forgiveness doesn't erase old karma, but it stops sowing new bitter seeds. When you stop responding to resentment with resentment, you halt the cycle of suffering. Others may still hold their seed, but you have chosen to plant another. And only by planting another kind of seed can you harvest other fruits. There was an old carpenter in a small house by the pine woods. He once had an apprentice steal his precious tools and run away. Years later, the apprentice returned, bringing a table as a gift of apology. The old man looked closely, saw the wood joints, not yet tight, saw the saw marks still rough. He placed his hand on the tabletop and said, "This wood is still young. It needs time." The apprentice bowed. The old man said, "Take the table home, place it in the center of your house, and each day dust it. Let the wood absorb your breath and age." Forgiveness is the same. Not everyone who apologizes is instantly excused. Some cracks need the warmth of time to join again. What matters is you agree not to use the chisel on them anymore. Many believe forgiveness means weakness, that if you forget, you let others win. But in truth, resentment is the prison. Forgiveness doesn't deny the hurt. It acknowledges that it happened and chooses not to let it govern your remaining life. When you say, "I forgive you," open the prison door. You and the other have been locked in together. You step out first, not to prove your superiority, but because you understand you no longer wish to live in darkness. Try this. Breathe slowly and name something you haven't forgiven yourself for. Maybe a careless word that hurt someone, an opportunity you missed, a time you betrayed yourself to please somebody else. Name it without fear. Say silently, "I know you are here, and I no longer hate you." A mistake is not the enemy. It is a mirror that reflects the places still weak. When you dare to look, the weak places begin to grow stronger. That is how you forgive yourself. A teacher I knew required her students every year to write a letter to themselves of the previous year. In the letter, they should say what they regretted most and what they were proud of. When reading it later, many cried not because of regret, but because they realized they had grown through what they once despised. Forgiving yourself is a hard lesson because we often feel we must wait for someone else's validation that we deserve to be forgiven. But actually, as soon as you are willing to speak to yourself, you are enough. One day, while sitting by the river at the temple, a woman asked me how to forget the pain of her husband's betrayal. I told her, imagine the husband as a person lost in the forest, carrying a torch, but walking in the wrong direction. If you carry a torch chasing him in revenge, the forest will burn. If you extinguish your torch and return home, the forest still remains, and you still have light to guide yourself. Forgiveness is choosing to protect your own light, rather than trying to kindle someone else's. Look back at your life. How many times have you hurt yourself by holding too tightly the things no longer needed? How many times have you lost the present because you kept picking up the fragments of the past? Forgiveness does not steal your memories, but it removes the poison from them. It is like holding a wilted flower in your hand. The moment you drop it, you will feel your hand lighten and have room to receive another bloom. In the scriptures, the Buddha once said, "Anger is like grabbing a red-hot coal to throw at someone. You are the one burned first." Remember that each time you want to hold on to a grudge, ask yourself, what am I holding inside? Is it justice or only fire? If it is fire, am I willing to keep burning? Forgiveness is when you lay the coal on the ground, watch the smoke rise and fold your palms in thanks for at last learning how to hold flame without being burned. There are people you will never meet again. There are apologies that will never be spoken. Do not let that stop you from moving forward. Forgiveness does not require the other to be present. It simply requires your awakening. You may write a letter, say what was never said, and then burn it. The ashes fly away. But at that moment, the energy of forgiveness has spread through the air. What is spoken with a compassionate heart does not vanish. It enters the invisible stream and softens the hardened seeds in the air. Forgiveness does not mean you must accept being hurt again. The Buddha teaches that compassion must go hand in hand with wisdom. When you forgive, you still have the right to set healthy boundaries to protect yourself. That is not cruelty, that is understanding. When a wound has closed, you do not let anyone touch it too soon. When the mind has just been healed, you do the same. Keeping distance is not about hate. It is about respecting the healing process. One autumn morning, someone cleaning the temple grounds discovered an old stone inscribed under the tree. The characters were worn only the two words, patience and mind, were faintly visible. The abbot said the stone was placed when the temple was first built. It lay quietly in the ground, enduring rain and sun. Grass covering it, people forgot it. But precisely because it was silent, it became resilient. Forgiveness is the same way. It does not need to be noisy. It does not need proclamation. You just let it lie quietly in your heart. Time will do the rest. Try sitting still and breathe 3 deep breaths. When you inhale, you whisper to yourself, "I release." When you exhale, you whisper, "I am light." Each breath, like that a piece of the past, is let go. If your eyes become moist, that is not weakness. That is water washing off dust that has accumulated too long. Every life needs water to be cleansed. If one day you meet the person who once hurt you, greet them as you would a season that has passed. You do not need to forget what happened, but you can stand there without trembling, without hardening your heart. By then, you know you have truly forgiven. When you forgive yourself, you also need to learn how to say thank you to yourself. Thank you for being brave enough to err, brave enough to fall, brave enough to stand up, brave enough to live on. No mistake is wasted if it teaches you how to become kinder. And then the day will come, you will realize forgiveness is not only an action, but a way of living. You no longer have to try to forgive because your mind has become soft like water. When someone hurls a stone, water does not hold a grudge. It only makes waves, then returns to calm. When someone brings praise, water does not become arrogant. It simply reflects and moves on. Forgiveness is returning to the nature of clear water in the heart. Finally, when you sit in the night, you may hear in your heart a very deep silence. No more justifications, no more questions of why. Only steady breathing and the feeling of a rope removed from your wrists. By then you understand that forgiveness does not make you lose anything. It gives you back freedom. Take another breath, now deep and slow. Place your hand on your heart and feel the steady beating like a distant bell. Whisper to yourself, I have learned how to let myself be peaceful. And from that peace, you will continue forward into the next chapter of the journey, where you will learn about enoughness, about the beauty of the imperfect, and about how to live with a heart that is healed, yet still able to feel. Because only when you forgive yourself can you truly see the world with the eyes of someone returned. When the door of forgiveness closes in your heart, like a rain season drawn to a close, the path ahead suddenly appears with a light that does not rush. There you find a simple word as deep as an old well enough. To know enough is not to stop because you are tired, nor is it to compromise with laziness. Knowing enough is a way to stand firmly at your center, so that from that steadiness you can walk with sure feet and gentle eyes. When you know enough, you do not run at the call of comparison. You do not halt at the shadow of inferiority. You walk because you see a path worthy of walking, even if it lacks fanfare. Look at a normal morning. You wake with bird song in the distance, thin light through the curtains, the smell of a clean shirt hanging on a chair, and a glass of water set on the table. Nothing outstanding, nothing thrilling. But when you place your hand on the glass of water, you hear your heart reply as a greeting to the morning. If within you there is a string pulled tight, demanding something big for this day to be worth living, you will miss that moment. Enoughness sometimes comes from a tiny patch where the imperfect becomes the map back to your real home. Long ago, in a quiet neighborhood, there was an old woman who mended clothes. She had an oil lamp, a box of multicolored needles and threads, and reading glasses scratched with time. Whenever a customer brought torn clothes, she did not rush to stitch. She placed the garment on the table, smoothed it a few times, and asked where the tear was when it happened, whether it tore during work or during joy. People laughed, thinking she joked, but she said each tear has a story, and if you listen to the story, the needle will be more skillful. One man brought an old blue shirt, torn at the elbow. He said it was the shirt he wore on the first day of work, then wore through many years until the fabric became thin as paper. The old woman selected a slightly darker thread than the shirt color, made small, even stitches. When the shirt was returned, the owner saw a small oval patch at the elbow, not hidden, but giving the shirt a point of silence. He touched the patch like touching a cherished memory. From that day, he was no longer ashamed of an old shirt. He learned how to wear it with gratitude. Enoughness sometimes arrives from a small patch where the imperfect becomes a map back to one's true home. In mindfulness, people often talk about returning to the body as returning to an old friend. But if the body is weary, has scars, has lost part of its ability, can we still love it as a friend? This is where enoughness rests its hand on your shoulder. It reminds you that this body does not have to resemble an advertisement image to be worthy of love. It has carried you through long roads, carried burdens the mind once placed. It was patient with sleepless nights, hurried meals, silent tears. Try traveling through the body by a small pilgrimage, from the crown of the head to the forehead where worry once furrowed, from the eyes to the cheekbones where tears no one saw once fell, from the shoulders to the arms where a child was held, a heavy box lifted a hand about to slip was held, from the chest to the belly where fear once shrank, then hope expanded, from the hips to the knees where you stumbled, then stood upright. At each stop, whisper a thank you. No body is flawless, but there are countless faithful bodies, and faithfulness is a beauty more enduring than any standard. A farmer who planted flowers on a hillside once tried using a lot of fertilizer so the flowers would grow fast. That season, the petals were bigger indeed, but the fragrance was faint. The next season, he changed his care. He walked slowly between the rows. At dawn, gently loosened the soil so it could breathe, covered the roots with straw to keep warm. When night came, spoke a few sentences to the plants as one would speak to a family member after a meal. That year, the flowers were not so big as to cause awe, but the fragrance was strong and lasting, still noticeable from afar. He told his friend that he discovered enough. Kindness does not lie in the amount of fertilizer, but in the affection for the garden. When there is affection, you know, when the earth thirsts, and when the earth is satisfied, you know when to sit and when to stand. You know when to prune and when to let a branch hang. Enoughness in life is the same. When you have affection with yourself, you know which level of effort is right, which threshold to stop, at which limit must be respected, and which courage is needed to reach out. You can begin to practice enoughness through a ritual small in the day. In the morning, open the window. Stand 3 breaths so the light touches your nape. At noon, drink a glass of warm water and place it down gently, like placing a sleeping bird. In the afternoon, clear a small patch on the desk, not all just a space enough for a notebook and a pen. In the evening, turn off the machine 15 minutes before sleep to hear the night's voice settling down. These small tasks do not make your life less ambitious. They give your ambition a backbone. You no longer chase every call you choose, the call worth hearing. You walk not to prove, but to cultivate. Some ask, how do I know what is enough when everything around is filled with measurements? Go back to basic sensations. When you do a task with full attention and leave it with a deep breath, that is often a sign of enough. When you do a task and your mind is swirling your body rigid, and you leave with a hollow emptiness, that is often a sign of too much. Enoughness is an art of learning from real sensation, not from noise. If you need a test, ask your body, do I want more, or am I tired already? The body is very honest. It does not want to ruin the dream. It just wants the dream to have foundation. In a city of glass and concrete, there is a bell ringer at a small church. His job seems simple. Pull the rope at the appointed hours. But he says what he has learned over many years is when to stop pulling before the bell's tone shifts from a rich ring to a jarring clang. He says each bell has a threshold. Pull past that threshold, the tone loses its roundness and becomes harsh, tiring to the ear. The human heart has such thresholds too. Too much joy leads to emptiness. Working beyond your limits leads to exhaustion. Expecting too much leads to discontent. Knowing sufficiency means knowing the threshold of your own soul, so that every time you pull the rope, the sound is full and carries far. One summer afternoon, I met a boy sitting on the church steps, holding a torn paper kite. He said the kite could no longer fly, but he still liked to look at it because it reminded him of the moment it soared. I asked him if he kept the kite hoping to fix it and fly it again, or just for the memory. He said both. I told him then to keep the kite's frame and replace the paper with new and press the old torn paper into his notebook like one presses a pressed flower. That way, the memory has a home and the dream has a new body. Knowing sufficiency at times means leaving the old where it belongs and letting the new have space to breathe. We do not have to leave everything behind to move forward. We only need to set down a little so our hands are free to hold the wind. In work, knowing sufficiency helps us avoid two extreme shores. On one side, is doing just to finish lacking soul. On the other is striving for perfection and forgetting our time and strength. One baker told me that the key is not how long you knead the dough, but when you stop. When you stop at the right moment, the gluten is just strong enough to hold the air. The loaf rises evenly, and the crumb is light. When you over-knead, the dough is tired, the crust thick, and the crumb dense. Each project of yours is like a loaf of bread. Learn to stop when the dough still has life. The rest is left to the oven and time. When you know how to stop, you trust in life's collaboration rather than wanting to control everything. You might ask, how do I know when I am enough, while others always seem better in some way? The answer lies in changing the question. Instead of asking whether you are as good as someone else, ask whether you are being as good as yourself. One pianist told me that in her early years, she always looked at the other person's hands. She counted speed, counted hours of practice, counted awards. One day, she injured her wrist and was forced to rest. During that time, her teacher gave her a very slow piece of music, asking only that she play 10 minutes a day, focusing on each note and every silence. When she returned to the instrument, she realized what she loved was the feel of the keys vibrating under her fingers, not the speed. She played more slowly than before, but the audience wept more often. Knowing sufficiency brought her back to her original reason for sitting at the piano. When you rediscover that original reason, you no longer get lost in the noise. Another day, an old photographer took his student to the riverbank at dusk. He said, "Today, we will not take any pictures, just sit." The student was impatient because the sunset was so beautiful. The old man smiled and said that a photograph is not only light, it is presence. If we are not truly present, every frame will look the same. They sat until the water changed color, until the houses opposite turned on their lights, until the wind shifted from warm to cool. Returning home, he asked the student what he had seen. The student said he had seen a flock of migrating birds flying low. He had seen an old wooden boat rocking. He had seen a woman shaking out her hair by the shore. The teacher said that means you took pictures today, pictures in your heart. Knowing sufficiency teaches you to pick up images like that in the course of the day. Every time you pick one, a silent thread ties you to life with a strong knot. Living in a world that pushes you on, you may give yourself the right to slow down sometimes. No one can live slowly all the time, but everyone can live slowly for an hour. Slow down to hear the meal tapping lightly on the bottom of the bowl. Slow down to watch a cluster of clouds change shape. Slow down so that you want to say thank you, then stop and say it clearly. Those moments accumulate into a foundation of calm, and from that foundation, you can work quickly without breaking. Fast is no longer panic. It is another form of attention. Knowing sufficiency is also the skill of seeing natural limits and honoring them. A mountain climber told me the most important thing is not to reach the summit at all costs, but to still have the strength to come down. On the way up, he knew to stop when the rain came and set up his tent on a dry patch. He said the moment he heard the rain on the tent was when he felt life most vividly. Not because he was near the summit, but because he was in the place he should be. In life, sometimes knowing sufficiency simply means choosing a dry patch to pitch the tent, waiting out the clouds, then moving on. Someone asked if we know sufficiency. Do we still have dreams? The answer is yes. And those dreams will be gentle and deeper. They will not shove the people beside you, will not trample the seedlings. Rising will not take from you nights of sleep with vague worry. They are the kinds of dreams that know how to breathe. They know to say, today is enough. Tomorrow we take one more step. They do not need fireworks to prove themselves. They need a long road to live. At this point, you can ask yourself a very small but important question. What has been enough for me today? It may be a phone call in which you said a full, "I am sorry." It may be a slow page of a book that you read deeply. It may be 10 minutes sitting by the window without your phone. It may be a hug that lasts 2 extra seconds so the other person truly hears your heartbeat. Write your answer in a corner of your notebook. A few weeks later, read it again, and you will see those pieces of enough become a garden. Every leaf is a day. Every flower is a moment in which you did not allow yourself to be pulled down by absence. When you practice knowing sufficiency, something strange happens. Gratitude grows like a river after the rainy season. You see the vendor remembering your name. You see the driver wait 2 beats longer for you to get in. You see a stranger hold the door for you. You see a coworker place a warm glass of water on your desk. Those things you might not have seen before because you were busy looking up at the high peaks. Now looking beside you and below you, you see the network of kindness supporting you bit by bit. From there, you want to become a mesh of kindness in that network. You start to save energy for creating good days, not just for proving yourself. Finally, knowing sufficiency is not a conclusion. It is a way of living. This way of living teaches you to keep rhythm between light and heavy, between fast and slow, between longing and letting go. When the rhythm is kept, you can walk into storms without fear of being swept away. You can still dream, still do big work, but each step wounds you less. You no longer have to wait until it is perfect to allow yourself joy. You rejoice because you are present, because you are breathing, because you have a heart that still opens when the world at times closes. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. Hear a simple sentence in your heart. Today, this is enough. That sentence does not close the door on effort. It opens the door to peace. From that peace, you will see another quality of love emerge. It is gentle strength. Strength not to push others down so you can stand, but strength that holds both yourself and others upright. In the next part, we will explore the essence of that gentle strength, how to walk between life's currents while still keeping the softness of the heart and the steadiness of the spine, so that each of your footsteps has the quiet ring of peace behind it. When you have learned to know sufficiency as a steady breath of the day, another quality will emerge like a river smooth after rain. That is gentle strength. Gentle strength is not loud, does not need to raise its voice, does not seek to win anyone over. Yet, it can support both you and the person opposite to stand firm amid change. It is a kind of steadfastness that does not wound, a kind of persistence with the scent of forest after a storm, clean, cool, and able to be breathed in deeply. Gentle strength begins with the ability to be fully present with what is, so that from there you place small actions in the right spot, at the right time, in the right dose. When the dose is right, you do not need to strain much, yet the work still moves forward. When the timing is right, you do not need to push anyone, the door still opens. Imagine an early morning before the city fully wakes. You stand on the balcony and hear distant car engines, nearby birds water, warming quietly in the kitchen. You do nothing but stand still and notice your body perched on your 2 feet, your spine lengthened like a soft thread, your jaw relaxed, your shoulders drifting down a little. In just a few breaths, you feel a gentle current flow through your body. That is the signal your nervous system has shifted from fight or flight into safe mode. Gentle strength is built on that biological safety. When the body feels safe, the mind has space to choose. And when the mind has space, you no longer react blindly, but begin to respond. At work, gentle strength shows up in the way you ask questions before drawing conclusions. A tense meeting can cool down if someone invites the room to pause for 2 breaths, then asks what truly matters here. The right question at the right time is like opening a window for the wind to come in. The wind blows through the stifling air, clears people in the room. Remember, they share the same goal, only their words differ. When you are the one who opens the window, no one may loudly praise you, but the outcome has changed direction. That is the impact of water. Soaking stone, lasting calm, sure. There was an old watchmaker on a small street by the canal. He never wound the spring too tightly. He said, every mechanism has a fragile threshold. If you touch just the right threshold with just enough force, time will run smoothly. Gentle strength is the art of the just enough force. When you teach a child, you set the rules, but do not pour out anger. When you give feedback to an employee, you point out the error, but also acknowledge the effort. When you set boundaries in a close relationship, you clarify what you can and cannot, but speak in a soft tone so the relationship still has space to breathe. Just enough force is an intuition trained by daily practice. Each time you take a breath before you speak, you are sharpening that intuition. In weary seasons, gentle strength helps you choose what to protect first. Some days, you cannot do everything well, but you can keep your heart safe, your body safe, your sleep safe. You can say, today, I will do less, but I will do it well. You can leave social media earlier to read a few pages quietly. You can walk 10 minutes under tree-lined shade so your breathing steadies. Gentle strength is not avoidance. It is knowing how to put up a temporary shelter in the rain so you can continue walking. The person with gentle strength does not collapse halfway because they know how to pause without giving up. Remember one simple principle. What you grow by repetition becomes yourself. If every day you repeat stress and hurry, become your home. If every day you repeat 3 breaths before you answer a warm glass of water, before you start a clear word of thanks after you finish, gentleness with backbone becomes your home. When that home is formed, others who enter will naturally lower their voice. Naturally, slow down. Naturally, speak sincerely. That is how you change the atmosphere around you without needing slogans. A young ceramicist once complained the clay was too hard and difficult to shape. An old woman watched her work, then said the clay was not hard. Your hands are hurried. She placed her hand on the clay for a while, so the warmth of her palm seeped in. When the clay softened, she began shaping. The young woman learned the lesson of warmth, not force. Later, she said, when she meets someone difficult, she treats them like clay. She does not compete for power. She first places her warm presence, then speaks when the air has shifted. Gentle strength always begins with warmth, enough time before shaping. In communication, gentle strength appears in the skill of listening without interruption. You let the other finish their point. You reflect what you heard in short sentences. You ask more to understand context. Many conflicts vanish simply because someone was willing to listen fully. When the other is heard, they lower their weapon. When the weapon is lowered, reason speaks. There is no miracle here, just the natural process of the human nervous system. You respect that process, and thus you have the biological system as your ally rather than fighting it. Gentle strength also needs clear boundaries. Boundaries are the riverbank. Without banks, water overflows and loses force. If the bank is too rigid, water is blocked and stagnates. A boundary is a flexible bank, allowing the water its course while giving it direction. You can say no to a request, but still speak in the language of respect. You can leave a conversation when it becomes attack, but still go calmly in silence. You can withdraw from a relationship that is no longer healthy, but still keep yourself without bitterness. These actions are not loud, but they save you from collapse, and that is the root of endurance. In your body, gentle strength is the coordination of firmness and softness. You stand upright with your feet grounded, but your knees are not locked. You allow your lower abdomen to expand lightly each time you inhale. You let your neck and shoulders relax so the current of the breath flows through. With just a few small adjustments, you have placed your body into a posture you can hold long without pain. When the body finds a sustainable posture, the mind easily follows sustainability. Decisions made from a sustained posture are often higher quality than those made from a cramped state. Some ask, can gentle strength be used amid the harsh world of business? The answer is yes, and that is a long-term advantage. The person who maintains calm will see the waves before they break upon the shore, and so steer the boat in time. The person who speaks with kindness and clarity at the right moment will make fewer needless enemies. The person who knows when to stop will still have strength for the next leg, while others are spent. Furthermore, when you treat your team fairly, you build a reserve of trust as strong as fine wood. That reserve cannot be bought, only built day by day. When the storm comes, it is that reserve that shelters you. Gentle strength is also the art of repairing mistakes. When you err, you take your part immediately. not deflecting, not avoiding, not punishing yourself. After acknowledging you fix step by step, inform those concerned, turn the insight into a process. So next time you err less. When someone else errs, you distinguish between error from carelessness and error from circumstance. For carelessness, you coach and train. For circumstance, you support and remove obstacles. How you handle mistakes is how you create culture. A strong culture is not where no one ever errs, but where everyone knows how to stand up without breaking. One evening, a young man returned home frustrated from losing a big presentation. He was about to harshly blame himself late into the night, but remembered the lesson of gentle strength. He placed a warm glass of water, turned off, the big lights switched on, a small desk lamp, sat down, and wrote 3 lines. What did I do well? What needs adjusting the small step? I will take tomorrow. After writing, he went to sleep. The next morning, he sent a short email to his teammates, acknowledged his part that didn't go well, proposed a new approach, and asked for one more rehearsal. The team agreed. 1 week later, they won the contract. If that night he had chosen self-flagellation, he might have been drained, and the team out of rhythm, the opportunity lost. Gentle strength turned the plot by those small actions. Practice the habit of leaving an argument when your breathing becomes tight and your voice begins to rise. Not retreating, but asking to pause so you don't harm what is precious. You might say, I need a few minutes to settle. And then we talk. After a short walk and a drink of water, the conversation will be on lower ground, where both still see each other as humans. Many relationships are saved by pauses like that. Pausing at the right moment is the virtue of someone with gentle strength. In a world full of noise, silence is a rare power. But silence here is not avoidance. It is the choice of timing so that words carry weight. The person with gentle strength doesn't speak much, but every word they utter is clear, right, and requires no adornment. Thus, the listener becomes less defensive. The message goes deeper. Change happens more naturally. Few words, yet deep, is a form of saving intellectual energy, leaving you strength for larger decisions. At some point, you will realize gentle strength is not only about how you treat others, but also how you treat your own dreams. You do not demand that your dream bloom immediately. You plant it, water it, weed it, wait for the sun, protect it from wind, and believe in the season. You do not compare your branch with the neighbor's branch. You know the soil, you know the sky, you know the seed, you know your hand. Then the dream grows without your heart shattering. It helps you mature instead of unravel. When you have learned how to know enough, like the steady breath of your day, another quality will appear like a river's surface after rain. That quality is gentle strength. Gentle strength does not shout, does not raise its voice, does not aim to defeat anyone. Yet it can support both you and the person opposite you to stand steady amid change. It is a kind of steadfastness that does not wound, a kind of firmness with the scent of forest after a storm, clean, cool, and ready to breathe deeply. Gentle strength begins with your ability to be fully present with what is, so that from there you place small actions in the right spot, at the right time, in the right measure. When the measure is right, you do not need to exert too much, and the work still moves forward. When the timing is right, you do not need to push anyone. The door still opens. Imagine an early morning before the city has fully awakened. You stand on the balcony and hear distant car engines, nearby birds, warm water gently pouring in the kitchen. You do nothing except stand still and feel your feet touching the ground, your spine stretching like a soft thread, your jaw relaxed, your shoulders drifting a little downward. In just a few breaths, you feel a gentle current travel through your body. That is the signal that your nervous system has shifted from fight or flight into a safe state. Gentle strength is built on that biological safety. When the body feels safe, the mind has space to choose. And when the mind has space, you no longer respond reflexively, but begin to respond with purpose. In work, gentle strength shows in the way you ask questions before drawing conclusions. A tense meeting can be cooled if someone invites the room to stop for 2 breaths, then asks clearly, "What really matters here?" The right question at the right moment is like opening a window for fresh air. The breeze flows through the stifling smell, clears people, realize they share the same goal. They simply speak differently. When you are the one who opens the window, you may not get loud praise, but the outcome changes direction. That is the effect of water that seeps into rock quiet, enduring sure. There was an old watchmaker in a narrow street by the canal. He never wound the spring too tightly. He said, "Every mechanism has a fragile threshold. If you touch that threshold with just enough force, time will run smoothly." Gentle strength is the art of the just enough force. When you teach a child, you set the rule, but do not unload your anger. When you give feedback to an employee, you point out the fault, but still acknowledge the effort. When you set boundaries in a close relationship, you state clearly what you can and cannot do. But your tone remains soft, so the relationship still has room to breathe. Just enough force is an intuition sharpened by daily practice. Every time you breathe before you speak, you hone that intuition. In weary seasons of life, gentle strength helps you choose what must be preserved first. On some days, you cannot do everything well, but you can keep your heart safe, your body safe, your sleep safe. You can say, "Today, I will do less, but I will do it well." You can leave social media earlier to read a few pages of a book so your mind will stop spinning. You can take a 10-minute walk under a line of trees so your breathing steadies. Gentle strength is not avoidance. It is knowing how to raise a temporary shelter in the rain so you can keep walking. Someone with gentle strength does not collapse mid-journey because they know how to pause without giving up. Here is one simple principle to remember. What you cultivate through repetition becomes you. If every day you repeat stress and hurry, then stress and hurry become your home. If every day you repeat 3 breaths before replying a warm glass of water, before you begin a clear thank you, after you finish, you build a home of gentleness with backbone. Once that home is formed, people entering will naturally lower their voices, slow down, speak sincerely. That is how you shift the atmosphere around you, not by slogans, but by habits. A young ceramist once complained that the clay was too hard to shape. An older woman watched her and said, "The clay is not hard. Your hands are rushed." She placed her hand on the clay for a moment, so the warmth of her palm could seep in. When the clay softened, only then did she begin shaping. The young woman learned the lesson of warmth, not force. Later, she said, when she meets someone difficult, she treats them like softening clay. She does not rush to win. She first offers a warm presence, then speaks when the air has changed. Gentle strength always begins with warmth held long enough before shaping. In communication, gentle strength shows in the skill of listening without interruption. You let the other speak fully. You reflect back what you heard by short phrases. You ask more to understand context. Many conflicts vanish simply because someone was willing to listen fully. When the other person feels heard, they lower their weapon. When the weapon is down, reason can speak. There is no miracle, just the natural process of the human nervous system. You respect that process, and thus turn biology into your ally instead of fighting it. Gentle strength also requires clear boundaries. Boundaries are the riverbanks. Without them, water overflows and loses power. If the banks are too rigid, the water is blocked and becomes stagnant. A boundary is a flexible bank, allowing water direction, but allowing movement. You may say no to a request, but still speak in a tone of respect. You may step away from a conversation turning into attack, yet you leave with calm silence. You may withdraw from a relationship that is no longer healthy and still keep yourself without bitterness. These actions are not loud, but they save you from burnout, and that is the root of endurance. In the body, gentle strength is the coordination of firmness and softness. You stand with upright feet, grounded, but your knees not locked. You allow your lower belly to gently expand each time you inhale. You relax your neck and shoulders so the breath's current flows through. With just a few subtle adjustments, you place your body into a posture you can hold for a long time without discomfort. When the body finds a sustainable posture, the mind follows suit. Decisions made from a body that is steady last longer than decisions made from a cramped state. Some ask, can gentle strength work in the harsh world of business? The answer is yes, and that becomes a long-term advantage. The person who stays calm will sense the waves before they crash on shore and steer the boat ahead of time. The one who speaks at the right moment with a clear, kind voice makes fewer needless enemies. The one who knows when to stop still has strength for the next leg, while others are spent. Moreover, when you treat your team fairly, you build a reserve of trust as strong as good wood. That reserve cannot be bought, only built day by day. When storm comes, it shields you. Gentle strength also means the art of handling mistakes. When you make a mistake, you claim your part immediately. No deflection, no avoidance, no self-punishment. After acknowledgement, you fix step by step. You inform those involved. You turn the insight into a procedure. So next time, you err less. When someone else errs, you distinguish between errors of carelessness and errors of circumstance. Carelessness gets coaching and training. Circumstance gets support and problem solving. How you handle mistakes is how you create culture. A strong culture is not where no one ever errs, but where everyone knows how to rise without breaking. One evening, a young man returned home disappointed by his failure at an important presentation. He was about to punish himself late into the night, but remembered the lesson of gentle strength. He set a warm glass of water on the table, turned off the overhead light, switched on a small desk lamp, sat down, and wrote 3 lines. What I did well. What needs adjusting. The small step I will take tomorrow. After writing, he went to sleep. The next morning, he sent a short message to his team, acknowledged his part, that failed proposed a new plan, and asked for one more rehearsal. The team agreed. A week later, they won the bid. If that night he had chosen self-flagellation, he might have exhausted himself. The team might have lost rhythm. The opportunity might have slipped away. Gentle strength changed the story with those small gestures. Practice the habit of stepping out of an argument when your breathing becomes shallow and your voice starts to rise. Not retreating, but asking for a pause so you do not ruin something precious. You might say, "I need a few minutes to settle, and then we'll talk." After a short walk and a drink of water, the conversation happens on lower ground where both still see each other as human. Many relationships are saved by pauses like that. Pausing at the right moment is the virtue of someone with gentle strength. In a world filled with noise, silence is a rare power. But silence here is not avoidance. It is the choice of timing, so that when you speak, your words carry weight. The person with gentle strength does not speak much, but every word they utter is clear right and needs no adornment. Because of that, the listener becomes less defensive. The message sinks deeper. Change flows more naturally. Few words yet. Deep is a kind of intellectual energy. Saving you, conserve energy for bigger decisions. At some point, you will realize gentle strength is not only about how you treat others, but also how you treat your own dreams. You do not demand your dream bloom immediately. You plant it, you water it, you weed it, you wait for sun, you shield it from wind, you trust the season. You do not compare your branch to your neighbor's branch. You know the soil, you know the sky, you know the seed, you know your hand. Then your dream grows without tearing your heart apart. It causes you to mature rather than unravel. Now slowly close your eyes and try to hear the sound of a complete night. The clock in the house ticks like raindrops falling steadily into the earth. The wind slips past the door's edge. The fabric of your shirt brushes lightly against the back of your chair. Your heartbeat feels like a drum skin tapped gently with fingertips, not loud, but clear. Silently say one very short sentence. Today I lived with an open heart, if only for a moment, and that is enough. That sentence is not a certificate of achievement. It is the key for you to step into sleep, like entering a room already prepared, where the pillow smells of sunshine and the blanket smells of home kitchen, where dreams do not need to run, where you are allowed to turn off every light and keep only a small lamp within your chest. That lamp does not consume much fuel because it burns on very small things. A word of thanks, a right sigh, a gentle glance, a decision that does not steal your sleep. Tomorrow, when you awaken, you only need to repeat what you learned in the gentlest way. Set your feet on the floor as if you are placing them on new ground. Drink a sip of water as if drinking a piece of the sky. Draw the curtain as if opening the door of your heart. Look at the sky as if you were greeting a relative you have not seen in a long time. If the day is difficult, the shawl draped over your shoulders will keep you warm. If the day flows, that shawl will remind you that joy, too, needs to be wrapped in knowing enough so it does not spill into pride. You do not need to do much more than choose to be present, and when that choice is held steadily, you will carry this 3-hour journey into each day. The journey does not end here. It simply takes another form. From now on, every evening is a small chapter. Every morning is a new page, and your whole life is a book you are allowed to write in your own gentle voice. If sometimes you lose the tone open again, the first page of the gentle mirror of kindness, of forgiveness, of knowing enough of gentle strength, and read it aloud for your heart to hear. It will recognize you right away, like recognizing a family member returning from a long trip. And then you two will sit down, pour a warm glass of water, smile, knowing that nothing needs to be rushed anymore. Because where you need to go is here, the place you have always belonged. When the door closes softly, and the room of the night has grown dark enough for your eyes to rest, the journey home needs a quiet ritual so that body and mind step into a deeper peace together. Let the pillow become a gentle cloud. Let the blanket become a warm rain. Let your heartbeat become a soft drum, tapped steadily. You may lie on your side or lie on your back. Either is fine, so long as your neck is supported and your shoulders are not pulled. From here, we move into a quiet lullaby for sleep that you will carry into many nights to come, a song of only 3 simple notes repeated until thoughts dissolve like salt in warm water. The first note is I am present. The second is I am safe. The third is I am loved. Those 3 notes are just enough for a wordless lullaby. Each breath is a gentle stroke across the mirror of your mind, so that the last image that remains before you drift is the image of someone who knows how to hold themselves without condition. You may begin by noticing the tip of your tongue resting gently behind the upper front teeth. Then relax your jaw so the space in your mouth widens a little. As your jaw releases, the thoughts that habitually hold tight will release too. Let your shoulders slide down just a little more. Let your shoulder blades rest like two leaves after rain. Your forehead smooths like a pond freed of wind. In front of your eyes is no longer a room, but a dark, silk-soft expanse where the hard boundaries of the day grow soft. Breathe in slowly so your belly rises. Breathe out slowly so your chest lowers, and continue until between breaths you feel a very brief quiet, like the door opening into a garden. Each time you touch that garden, say silently, "I am present." Soon, the phrase becomes a feeling. Then the feeling becomes a ground, and onto that ground, every noise falls as softly as dust. Now call to mind the parts of you that worked all day and hand them over the keys to the night. The eyes that have seen too many screen tones, now set them down. The hands that wrote and carried, set them down. The feet that walked crowded streets, set them down. The back that held up the day, set it down. The heart that cared for this person and that loved and remembered, set it down. By setting them down like that, you are not rejecting your responsibility. You are simply allowing the small workers inside you to rest. Tomorrow morning, they will return with shinier tools. Now let the night do its night work like a river in darkness that still knows its way to the sea without needing lights. You may notice some thoughts still chasing you, demanding one more late conversation, one more calculation, one more plan. Invite them to sit with you on the doorstep. Set a warm glass of water in front of each thought. Say, "Now is not the time to deal." Night is territory of peace. Invite them to a 15-minute meeting at morning when the alarm rings. You will listen to each one then and record clearly. The strange truth is that most thoughts pretending to be urgent will leave when they hear there is an appointment scheduled. The rest will quiet down and sit still like respectful guests waiting their turn. That is how you become the kind and steady manager of your internal world, not by strangling it, not by spoiling it, but by scheduling appropriately. If there are still patches of thorns inside, imagine a quiet riverside and a boat tied to a post. Each thorn is a pebble lying on the boat. You do not need to throw them away. You only need to untie the rope. When the post is released, the boat drifts slowly into the stream, and the pebbles float away with the water. Forgiveness is precisely the act of loosening that rope. No drums needed, no declaration, just a small untying by your hand. Once you have undone it, place your hand on your heart and say silently, "I am safe." That phrase is like lighting a small lamp at the bow of the boat, enough for you to know your direction, but not enough to dazzle your eyes. Now, we water a round of loving kindness very gently. First, send it to yourself. May I sleep peacefully in this room, on this bed, in this breath. May my muscles be repaired, my cells put on fresh clothes. May dreams arrive like old friends, telling warm stories, and leave before dawn. Then send it to the people close to you, whether in the same city or far away. May you sleep peacefully. May you be safe. May you lighten the things you are holding, so your hand still has space to hold your own gentle hand. Finally, send it to those you find difficult. Just a short sentence, like a leaf floating across water. May you not suffer further tonight. And that is enough. From your shoulders flows a thin current of warmth that dissolves into the darkness, making the darkness less dense. Because of that, the night becomes easier to breathe. Before sleep draws its curtain, drop 3 drops of gratitude into the day. Thank one thing you did, even if it was very small. Thank one thing someone else did for you, even if they did not know you noticed. Thank one thing in the world that happened at just the right moment. Maybe only a cloud shading the sun as you blinked at the wheel. Those 3 drops are the yeast of peace. They shift your mind from a state of demand into a state of receiving. When you are in the state of receiving, you are no longer the sentinel on duty, but the child in a home. And as the child, you have the right to sleep unguarded. If you are still awake, let us use a simple 4-6 breath. Count 4 as you inhale, count 6 as you exhale. Each exhale is longer. The nervous system hears the signal to slow down. After a few rounds, your heart ticks like an old wall clock freshly cleaned. In the blank space between 2 ticks, the memory of a riverside with bamboo shadows may appear. You will hear the cricket's gnawing smell, the straw near the shed, hear someone's footsteps softly crossing a rice paddy. No one calls you to do anything. No one asks you to prove anything. The whole world consents to your rest. You smile at the corner of your lips and let your face drop the mask of the day. On nights when sleep is elusive, stand up. Drink a sip of water. Wipe your hands with a warm towel. Then return to bed, as if returning to a porch. Do not blame yourself. Sleepless nights are secret classrooms where you learn to walk across wooden floors without making the planks groan. You will realize your footsteps can be gentle too. After a few lessons, the footfalls become habit, and the whole daytime benefits from that gentleness. When you live softly, you hear tiny sounds, a speck of dust touching the table, a thread vibrating inside you when someone says your name. Those tiny sounds are the guides of intuition, helping you turn onto the right path without much debate. To awaken tomorrow morning with a light heart, you might fold a small slip of paper into thirds tonight. On it, write a gentle promise to yourself. Today, I will say one sentence less that is not needed. Today, I will drink one more glass of water at the midday hour. Today, I will place a hand on my shoulder 3 times, even if no one else does. Those 3 promises are like 3 seeds buried under the blanket. When the dawn passes by, it will mist a little dew. By noon, you will see a shoot sprouting. These young leaves don't need an audience to live. They live because they are the continuation of the forest you planted in your heart. Throughout this journey, you may find that the strongest thing you have learned is not a technique, but a voice. This voice is not loud, does not need many words, but each word lands where no armor is worn. It is the voice you will use toward yourself on the days you go off beat. When you fail, that voice will say, "We are still breathing," which means there is still a way. When you succeed, it will say, "Let us smile first, then we'll clear the table. Do not let joy spill onto the floor." When you are lonely, that voice will say, "Sit here with me." Listen to the silence. That too is your friend. Gradually, that voice becomes the background tone of your life, like the water under a bridge, always present, never demanding attention. Because of that background tone, you keep your unique rhythm, even in crowded squares of noise. Before you sink into sleep, you might imagine a very small train station at day's end. On the wall is a clock stopped at a beautiful hour. On the wooden bench sits a silver-haired station master, nodding a greeting. He says your train is arriving soon, the train carrying bundles of worry and bundles of joy. You step down, place the larger bundles into the storage, and open a small bundle labeled peace. Inside is a thin shawl, like a breath. You drape it around your neck and feel your neck warm. You thank the station master. He points you toward a small room with its door open and soft yellow light. You go in, lie down on a bamboo bed, and listen to the insects drawing perfect circles around you. When the circle closes, your eyes close too. The night welcomes you with the hands of forest and water. And if right now you are already drifting between wake and sleep, let the final phrase carry you into the depths. You are enough. You have loved yourself enough to stop. You have forgiven yourself enough to breathe an honest sigh. You have been gentle enough to lay your head on the pillow as you would place a leaf on a lake. Tomorrow will come on its own 2 feet. For now, your part is to sleep. Sleep so your body repairs. Sleep so your mind reconnects its threads. Sleep so that when you wake in the morning, you can smile at the first light and greet yourself with a tiny phrase capable of lifting the whole day up. Hello, my gentle friend. We will travel together again. When dawn still stands at the threshold and the light has not yet spilled into the room, open your eyes as if reading a letter sent last night. The letter smells of stillness and carries a few dewdrops along the edges. Do not rush to sit up. Lie still and listen for the body's first whispers of the day, the heartbeat touching the pillow like fingers tapping softly on a bamboo drum, the breath gliding across your nose. Bridge, then falling into your chest like a fine thread being drawn through a needle's eye. You say quietly to yourself, I am here, and that I am here is the anchor planted in the deepest water of your mind. Simply keep that anchor, and the boat of life will not be carried away by the early morning breeze that all too easily becomes a storm. Then sit up slowly, set your feet on the floor, as if placing 2 flat stones on the stream bed, to know that beneath the clear water there is a ground, and that ground is called presence. You walk to the window, draw the curtain, and let the light touch your forehead before it touches your eyes, as though rousing a bird sleeping in your hair. The city begins to stir with distant car sounds. A flock of birds takes turns reading the day's overture. The clouds change colors like a textile worker softly stirring a vat of dye. You stay still for a few beats, spine straight enough so your lungs can hum the unspoken vowels of morning. Then you drink a sip of warm water, feeling the liquid pass your throat like a small stream, clearing the thin moss, sweep through your chest like a breeze, opening the heart's window, descend into your belly like a sunbeam, slipping through bamboo dust to touch the soil. These rituals are neither long nor difficult, but they link together into a string of beads, each bead reminding you that the new day is a gift, not a test. When your hand reaches for the small notebook on the table, open to a new page and write 1 short line in neat script. Today I will be fully present in 3 moments. The first moment, when I say the morning greeting to the first person I meet, I will look into their eyes for an extra half second, so the greeting does not fall to the floor. The second moment, when I begin my main task, I will breathe 3 breaths so I do not carry the rush of trivialities. The third moment, at lunch, I will eat as though I have walked through a forest and sit by a stream, set the spoon down between bites to hear the light tapping. Just 3 moments are enough to inoculate the whole day, because yeast does not need to be large. It needs the right moment and place. When the yeast of calm is stirred into key times, everything else follows more easily. You leave your home as one leaves a temple. Porch. It means you carry gentle stillness, even though the streets awaken. On the road, if a car cuts in front of you, imagine the driver carrying a low cloud inside the cloud, narrowing their eyes and stiffening their hands. Take one longer breath and keep enough distance so the cloud passes without soaking your shirt. If a vendor hands you the wrong item, speak clearly without thorns, because thorns cut both hands. If a stranger holds the elevator door for you, say thank you, loud enough for both you and they to hear, because one clear thank you can lay a brick in the shared floor of the day. Those small gestures are how you weave the warm shawl you made in the night into the day's coat, not turning your work into armor that wounds, but into fabric that absorbs sweat and dries in the wind. At work, start with 2 minutes of organizing your desk. No need to be perfect. Just push aside the irrelevant and pull the necessary into reach. A tidy outer desk mirrors a steady inner desk, and when that mirror is clear, you can see not just good work, but true work. Before writing the first line of an important email or placing the first call, place your hand on your chest and breathe. Ask one short question. What good do I wish for the person on the other end? That question wraps your words in a soft layer, letting them travel farther and bump less. After each hour of work, if possible, stand for a minute and look at a distant point. Like a photographer, changing lenses to shift focus. The mind also needs shift to avoid being trapped in detail. When a difficulty appears, like a rock rolling into your path, you can choose from the 3 ways you've learned. First, examine yourself to see what the rock is hitting inside you, what old wound is vibrating and demanding voice. Second, send a bit of kindness to yourself, then to the situation quietly say, I understand I am in a hard place, and tell the matter I will converse with you in quiet voice. Third, release the corners. You do not need. Accept that today you'll take a slower route with fewer scrapes, because knowing enough means choosing a path with fewer falling stones. Each time you choose like that, you increase your life's endurance, an unseen quality, but audible like the sound of a string tightened. Just right, barely touched. Yet it rings. In close relationships, use the language of the home. You share lots of please and thank you, fewer must and always. When you're tired, say, "I am tired and need 10 minutes resting," instead of, "You make me exhausted." When you're sad, say, "I am sad and would like your silence beside me," rather than, "You don't understand me at all." When you're happy, say, "I am grateful that this is here," rather than, "It should have come earlier." Switching from the language of blame to the language of description and asking for help is a turning point for every household. It moves the house from the marsh of right, wrong, into the gravel path of together walking. On the gravel path, you hear shoes, and because you hear them, each person adjusts their step so the rhythm aligns. By noon, you may hold a very simple ritual. Place your phone face down. Rest your hand on the table for 2 breaths. Look at your food as though it were a field. Imagine the hands that touched the seed, the earth, the water, the fire, the bowl. Then eat a few seconds slower than usual. No need to turn your meal into a long meditation session. Just allow the meal to be the meal, not the backdrop for some mental broadcast or invisible debate. Doing that a few times, your body responds with a gentle warmth emerging from the belly. This warmth says, "The energy has been received," as it is not stolen by dispersal. Afternoons are the moments easiest to slip into laziness or rush. To avoid either shore break the day in 2 with a movement stand and walk a short circuit. Look at a tree. If you can touch the water when washing your hands and notice its temperature, the interruption signals to the brain not to become a flat runway, but to hold little grooves where water runs off so the rain of work does not pool into a puddle. Returning to your desk, pick one doable task and finish it, then stop. The power to stop on time is one pillar of gentle strength, and when that pillar stands strong, the roof can cover wide without requiring many beams. When dusk falls, you return home. Remember to greet a breath of wind by the doorway, as though greeting an old friend, so that the boundary between outside and inside is marked by a friendly gesture. Place your keys down in their usual spot. Set your bag on the chair. Put your worries down on the floor as you would a backpack after a long journey. Go into the kitchen. Wash a bowl with warm water. Not because the bowl is dirty, but because warm water is a pleasant greeting to your hands. If there is someone with you, ask a question you wish to hear from them. What made you smile today? If you are alone, ask yourself that question and answer it out loud so the room has the sound of someone alive. In the evening, before grabbing your notebook, try turning off one light so the gentler glow guides your senses toward rest. Write 3 lines as you promised one thing that lifted you, one thing that burdened you, one small step for tomorrow. Add another line, if you like, a line of gratitude. Thank the bed that waits for you without condition. Thank the eyes that worked all day, yet still look up at a star through the window. Thank the heart that kept pumping like a simple machine with no advertisement. When you close the notebook, place your hand on it for a moment, as though stamping a completed document. And whom is that document for? It is sent to the future you, who will open it when needed and find within a voice that grew up through gentleness. If the day left a scratch that stung, bring your mind back to the quiet waterside you practiced earlier. See the scratch like a small boat tied too long. You ease the rope a little so the boat can turn with the current. Do not jerk it, for the rope may snap. When the scratch stops swelling, you tell yourself, tomorrow I will place a patch. The patch is sewn with a thread of understanding, not the glue of suppression. Each day you seed one patch. Then your life's garment thickens in the right places, and when winds come, you will no longer shiver as you once did. Lastly, before turning off the light, return to your 3-note lullaby. I am present. I am safe. I am loved. Repeat it like a farmer, walking once more around the field before closing the gate. Listen to the night, placing its hand on your roof and comforting you. Hear your body shift its shift so the repair crew can begin its silent work. You know that tomorrow may bring surprises, pleasant or otherwise. But with these small rituals, you have built a porch where every surprise is welcome before being placed in its compartment. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to continue to arrive on time with yourself, on time with your breath, on time with kindness, on time with knowing enough, on time with gentle strength. When someone is in the habit of arriving on time with themselves, the whole world gradually learns to arrive on time for them. And if one day you forget, just return another day. This journey has no gatekeeper, no late fee, no penalty book. This journey only has an empty chair waiting for you to sit down again whenever you return. On that chair sits the warm shawl you wove over many nights, the warm glass you poured in past mornings, the notebook open to a blank page, the small yellow lamp just bright enough to rest your eyes. You enter, lie down on presence, place your hand upon safety, lay your cheek on being loved. Outside, the city is still busy as it has always been. Inside, you remain as still as you have chosen. And between the two sits a bridge built by you, one made of tiny bricks as small as fingernails, yet placed in the right spot. The bridge is wide enough for one person to walk across without stumbling strong enough to carry what you truly need. Each morning, you step onto that bridge. Each evening, you step off, and each step you take reaffirms the promise you made long ago. I will live with a heart that knows how to see, and hands that know how to lift. From that promise, tomorrow opens like a white page smelling of sunshine, and you will write on it again with the gentle voice that feels as familiar as your breath. When the day has progressed halfway, and you stand at a pause like a traveler beside an ancient well, perhaps you will realize something simple yet deep. Everything we search for our whole lives has already visited many times in very small moments. One visitor is the morning wind that stands by the window frame. Another is the patch of sunlight spreading across the tabletop. Another is the low laugh of someone down the hall. Another is the warm water passing through your throat. These visitors teach us presence, kindness, forgiveness, knowing enough, and gentle strength. But to recognize them, we must learn an art smaller than dust, the art of rhythm. Rhythm is the bridge that connects all your practice. Rhythm is the inhalation and exhalation, the foot touching the ground, the word spoken, and the silence that stays the eye looking in and the eye looking out. When the rhythm is right, an ordinary day becomes a sanctuary. When the rhythm falters, even beauty turns into pressure. So from here, we go deeper into rhythm, like a string player, staying just one moment longer to adjust a slightly loose string, because they know one loose string will pull the others out of tune. You might imagine your day as a song with many sections. Morning is the soft overture. Noon is the full chorus. Afternoon is the gentle decrescendo. Evening is the settling down like dew gathering. Night is the silence that nourishes. In each section, you choose a few notes to strike clearly and allow the rest to float lightly. In the morning, you choose the note of greeting yourself with a warm glass of water, the note of greeting the world with the light through the curtain, the note of greeting the person with a phrase, warm enough. At noon, you choose the note of setting your spoon down between bites, the note of looking out to a distant point for a minute so your mind has a bank, the note of thanking your body for its work. In the afternoon, you choose the note of walking 50 steps slowly so your breath returns home, the note of moving your desk for clarity and your mind for order. In the evening, you choose the note of writing 3 lines in your journal and the note of returning the key of worry to the night. When those notes become habits, you will see an ordinary miracle. Under the lens of rhythm, the storms soften, the collisions, blunt surprises lose their power to throw you off. Then there will be a day when the rhythm breaks. You arrive late. You forget your journal. You let your phone carry you. For an hour, you answer someone in a higher tone than usual. You leave an unread message hanging, and your mind skips a beat. It is okay. Rhythm is not a stern teacher. It is a friend who waits. Whenever you remember, you only need to make a small gesture, like pulling a bell cord. Place your hand on your chest to feel your heart touch your hand. Drink a slow sip of water. Look at a leaf until you see its vein. Say a short sorry if you unintentionally hurt someone. Write a short line of thanks if someone helped you a little. Each gesture is a note returning home like a pebble dropping into the bottom of a well audible and making the surface ripple no more. In crowded roads and many gazes, you will learn one more rhythm, the rhythm of discretion. Discretion does not mean hiding yourself. It means keeping your sacred things safe from the wind. Your roots need dark, need damp, need silence. Those minutes of stillness on the balcony don't need to be shown. Those times sitting by the window, just watching rain fall, don't need to be documented. Those silent well wishes for someone difficult don't need to be echoed. When discretion is held, your practices grow like sprouts underground. When they break through the soil, they are strong and not easily broken by wind. One day, you'll realize that to keep your inner rhythm strong, you need to place yourself into a rhythm of gentle community. Whether you live alone or amidst many people, you can do this. Find a cafe where people speak softly. Sit there at a fixed hour each week just to read a few pages and listen to passing voices like a stream. Find a park with a row of trees. Pick a bench and come there every Thursday evening to watch the sky change colors. Find a friend you can sit with in silence for 10 minutes without it feeling odd. Find a class where everyone breathes 3 times together before starting to speak. Those community rhythms are like water stations along the road where you pull in to refill before moving on. When your own flask is full, you can pour for others without emptying yourself. Rhythm also lives in how you receive praise and criticism. Praise without intoxication. Criticism without collapse, that is rhythm. When someone praises you, Pause a second so the praise passes through your heart and rests at the bottom like a beautiful pebble. You say, "Thank you," then return to your rhythm, not because of the praise you now speed up. When someone criticizes you, pause a second so the words settle. Separate the truth from the emotions triggered. If there is truth, you accept and adjust. If there isn't, you place the criticism in a gentle corner of breeze and let it pass away. Both situations require a pause. The pause is a small sanctuary where dignity shelters away from the storm of reflex. We also need a rhythm for creativity each day. Many think creativity is the gift of randomness, but mostly it grows in rhythm. Set aside 15 minutes each morning, even when you don't know what to write. Like an artist tuning their instrument before the performance. Sketch a line. Take a photo. Record. A small sound. Think one opening sentence. Jot down one fleeting idea. These small seeds form the grain of a larger idea. Without rhythm, the great idea has no pulse. It comes and goes like wind through the front door and out the back. With rhythm, the big idea knows where to root. The rhythm remains in the art of rest. Rest is not quitting your work, but shifting the channel so that your energy can be renewed. Let us design several ways of resting for different situations. Rest. When your eyes feel tired, look into the distance. Rest when your neck and shoulders feel heavy. Go for a slow walk. Rest when your mind is distracted. Wash an item. Rest when your heart is unsteady. Place your hand on your chest and call your own name. Each kind of rest is a key, opening a specific door. When you have enough keys, you do not need to beat on the door anymore. When you stop beating on the door, the house does not break. When the house does not break, you have a place to come home to. In the family rhythm is the way you set sacred intervals of time. A meal without screens. An evening without bringing work into the bedroom. A fixed hour when the whole family tidies up a compartment of the closet together. A weekend morning, walking together to a favorite cafe, not discussing difficult matters, just watching the street and watching one another. Those sacred moments become an anchorage for memory. Many years later, what remains is not the arguments over who was right and who was wrong, but the smell of bread in the kitchen, the sound of a spoon touching the side of a glass, the feeling of someone's hand naturally placed on your shoulder. Rhythm remains the way we pass through days that do not match our wishes without losing ourselves. There are days when the sky is heavy and work accumulates. Allow yourself to live that day with a minimalist mode of the interior. Keep only 3 things that must be done. 3 people you need. 3 words you need. Everything else put off until tomorrow. The minimalist mode is not a defeat. It is a strategy to preserve your vital energy. When the storm passes, you still have people in the boat, and you still have the boat. When you still have the boat, you will be able to repair the sail. Now, return to your breath and weave rhythm into your body. Sit up straight. Let your feet touch the floor like roots touching the bed of a stream. Breathe in knowing you are breathing in. Breathe out knowing you are breathing out. On the second time, breathe in silently, saying, I am here. Breathe out silently, saying, I am at peace. On the third time, breathe in, calling your name in a gentle voice. Breathe out silently, saying thank you. Then, open your eyes. Look at an object in front of you and silently describe what you see. The color, the outline, the shadows, the scratches, the brightness, the dark spaces. When you describe like that, you pull your mind away from the old roads of worry and bring it into a new road of observation. Observation is the foundation of rhythm. Rhythm is the backbone of peace. Peace is home. Someday, you will stand on a bridge crossing a river that has gone with you through many seasons. You will remember the times the water rose and the water fell, the times the bank broke and the bank healed, the times a school of fish surfaced like dotted marks, the times the clouds reflected themselves in the water's face. You know that life does not need to be free of waves in order for you to be at peace. You need rhythm to walk in the waves. And you have rhythm. Rhythm in your breath. Rhythm in your footsteps. Rhythm in your words. Rhythm in your silence. Rhythm in your eating rhythm, in your working rhythm, in your loving rhythm, in your forgiving rhythm, in your enoughness. Rhythm in your gentle strength. When a day ends, you will gradually sense the invitation to step out of the role the world expects you to play and return to the role of being human. The role of being human does not need to be perfect. The human role knows awkwardness and knows learning. The human role sometimes is clumsy, but does not try to hide. The human role laughs when happy and cries when sad, yet always remembers to open the window so the breeze can dry the tears. It is precisely that human role that helps you connect with others by the line of humanity, not by the antenna of image. When humanity connects with humanity, the hard becomes soft, the distant becomes near, the heavy becomes lighter, because we share the burden together. Finally, when you put your pen down and close this chapter, you may hear somewhere in your chest a very small bell-ringing sound. That bell does not tell you to become someone else. It reminds you that you already have the raw material to live like a gentle yet enduring river. Tomorrow, when someone is having a hard time, you will have a glass of water for them. When you are having a hard time, you will have a chair for yourself. When life is hard, you will have a wordless song to pass through the narrow stretch. And if you happen to forget, you just need to return to 3 basic things. I am here. I am at peace. I am loved. From those 3 things, every road opens again. From those 3 things, every story finds a light conclusion. From those 3 things, an ordinary day can become a memorable day because you have lived fully in each small rhythm like that. When this 3-hour journey of your inner self closes, you may feel in your heart a new space opening, not noisy, but light and clear, like a sky just cleared of rain. Everything you heard is not a lesson to memorize, but seeds planted quietly in the heart. Some seeds sprout immediately. Some wait until you sit still. One afternoon, when the sound of cars fades and the breeze carries the scent of new leaves, then you suddenly realize that peace has never been outside. It has been inside you all along, just waiting for you to return and call it by its proper name. From now on, you do not need to seek perfection. Just keep living like a river that knows how to change direction when it meets a rock, knows how to be still when the wind is asleep, knows how to resonate when the moonlight passes. Each breath, each step, each kind gesture to yourself is a prayer, and you yourself are the one reciting that prayer through your daily life. Bring the little light of this meditation into every meal, every conversation, every sleep. Let compassion extend from your eyes. Let forgiveness blossom in your voice. Let enoughness stop in your smile. Let gentle strength become the habit of your hands. If one day you find you have lost your rhythm, just return. Place your hand on your heart and breathe. There you will always find an old friend waiting for you. One who knows how to love, knows how to let go, knows how to begin again. When you hear the sound of your own heart, you have come home. And that home is not on a high mountain or in a distant temple, but right where you are standing. In each moment, you know how to look, how to breathe, how to love. Thank you for traveling this journey with me. Thank you for taking the time to listen to be still, to return. If these moments have made your mind a little warmer, made your night more peaceful, made you smile more gently, remember that you are healing yourself. May you carry this peace with you through the path ahead, light as the breeze, enduring as the water, and bright as a small lamp in the night. I wish you good sleep, kind dreams, and when you wake up, say to the new day the phrase that has traveled with us from beginning to end: I am here. I am at peace. I am loved. Thank you again for staying until the final moment of this journey. If these stories, these breaths, and these silences have made your heart a little gentler, if you feel more at peace when you close your eyes, then that is the deepest meaning of this video. I believe that peace is not a destination, but the path we walk together, slowly, gently, and truly. Therefore, if you would like every week to have a place to return, to a place where there is only the sound of a little bell, a gentle voice telling a story, and warm light spreading in the night, please press the like button so I know you are here, and press subscribe to the channel so you will not miss the journeys ahead. Each subscription of yours not only helps the channel grow, but also helps someone lost in anxiety find the way back to peace, just like you have today. Thank you once again for listening with all your heart.